I'm Margaret in Windsor, and I'm not going to put up any of the information and photos and things that I usually do when I put up a video or go to Facebook. For 5, 6 years, I've been videoing and on Facebook. Prior to that, I'd written a book back in '76 to April Fool Day of '80 when I was almost killed in Marietta, Georgia, for doing the book. And then I later found out my real name in late 1983 that I'm the daughter of King Edward VIII. And it was a plot to take my father down. It involved the Archbishop of Canterbury. His last name was Lang, Cosmos Lang. It involved the Prime Minister at the time. It involved my own uncle, illegal George VI, and that's Elizabeth's father. He helped take his own brother down. It involved Roosevelts who were Jewish, and it continued. My father never married Wallace Warfield Simpson, the American spy who had been twice divorced and all this. It was a whole concocted lie. My father was always married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, from Madison, Wisconsin, and baby sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe. She's my aunt. And in the end, the O'Keefes paid a heavy price because they tied up her, my aunt's account. They tied it. They had my mom dying. She did have a home out in Bel Air. She was a school teacher, and I was out there in '83. Larry Flint flew me out there at his home in Bel Air. And I was out there late '83 in the campaign. I'd written about, one of the doctors I'd written about, Congressman Larry McDonald, who was a physician from Piedmont Hospital, and he went down in the plane. The KAL was shot down from Juneau, Alaska to Seoul, South Korea. Supposedly he was on it, and so it was a takedown. Supposedly he was on it to get rid of him, say that he died. Now, 260 plus people went down in it. It veered into Russian airspace and it was shot down. And again, here is mind control. The pilot was a seasoned pilot, a good one. So he doesn't just go flying 10 miles off into Russian airspace. Okay, and he died too. So I'm going to quit, except they took Nixon, Richard Nixon, off the plane there in Juneau. So they knew it was going down. Now, it was flown out there, and I started finding out. And it made sense because in the past there were British there that saved my life. Let me clue you, that were there for me. And it kind of started making sense. And then the British told me, and I started gathering information. I knew something was wrong with the way I grew up. And now I have put up photos of that family, which are not telling the truth about that family. They were horrible, and they were very, very poor, but they were horrible. They'd killed the twins, Peggy and Carl, and when I was dropped off there in '41 at age 2, they gave me her name. And I've already put that up, and I want to get back to the Archbishop. This is not just, when I found out my real name, I could remember a lot. I might have been 2 years old, but don't tell me you can't remember, because well, I don't have to support that. There's another member of that family, Dempsey's over in Moulton, who did tell the truth, and he remembers when they replaced me. So do they, but most of them are dead now. The aunts and uncles of the real Peggy and Carl. Well, it was just one uncle. Now then, so I'm not bouncing around and everything. In the book, I was telling about mind control murders, and that's when Larry Flint was shot, Hustler Magazine in Gwinnett County, Lawrenceville, Georgia. And I had a letter from the FBI about, I thought it was about the book. It said ongoing investigation, national security involved. And later I find out it's really about me, who I am, and the lies and the takedown of the British government, kidnapping a monarch. Because the day I was born, my father had an addendum. He was married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe. He was still married, and they were still alive when I came to Roanoke in '86. The double that became, and I've said this over, and I don't mean to be redundant, but if I don't, you don't know where I'm coming from. a double imposter married Wallace Warfield Simpson in 37. My father was a forced abdication with the addendum. And my mama was queen during my mama. My mother was the queen mother, not Elizabeth's mother, who was a Rothschild that had Rockefellers, Bilderbergers, Joe Kennedy, JFK flew in and out of the embassy. Joe Kennedy was appointed U.S. ambassador to England by Roosevelt. His kids were become such a part of it. So they actually took my mother and father's identity. They kidnapped me, my father's child, and the day I was born in 39, I'm Queen Victoria II, the real British queen. Not Elizabeth. She's a phony, a traitor. And I want to say this, the Dempseys, when I found out and started putting up on Facebook, is when it scared them. And I had the documents to support it, and they knew I remembered, and I had names that you could go back and place it, and you'd have to know. So they became afraid of the truth. They started trying to compile stuff about me when I was a little baby and hold things against me, make me the bad guy. I thought, I knew what kind of people they are. But instead of them, they went to church every time the door opened. And instead of going to the authorities and saying, hey, we know about the kidnapping, she's been kidnapped, we know who she is. We also know that the twins were murdered, and they made me take Peggy's name. Instead of going to the police or to law enforcement, they tried to kill me till I got too much on Facebook. Now that most of them are dead except one that would have been the aunt to Peggy. And as far as I know, she's alive, and she don't have anything other than she's angry that I'm telling about it. I'm not supposed to tell about the abuse, who I am. And then you got the other side, Elizabeth, and that they don't want it told. They'd lose their reputations. There's a whole bunch. Plus, hopefully they'd spend time in jail. I can just see them handcuffing Elizabeth, which she should be. That whole brood should be. They know it. People would be so outraged unless they see the truth laid out before them and they see what really happened and what was done. My father wouldn't go along with the Illuminati, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, the Freemasons, the Illuminati, and the Church of England gets in on it. And this is not just me. There are tapes up there when I started researching back that tell about the plot to take my father down. And it tells about the Archbishop of Canterbury. Can you believe this crap? And that's what it is. It's horrible and mean. I couldn't have made any of it up. My children are heir. Mark is heir after me, and Scott was born 11 and a half months later. He would be heir after Mark, not William and Kate. And look at the pictures that are being put up about Charlotte, the little least child, and she's pregnant again, of Catherine. People go by what you wear, and I don't have my crown. I don't have my money. I've lived one hell of a life trying to survive. And I'm going to leave it at that, because in the book I wrote, and I started finding out about my kidnapping and everything, it comes to where I was born in 39, kidnapped in 41. It's the illegal treaties that were signed by Elizabeth and her father, and that allowed a lot of this to happen. It allowed the United States military to come in and say they're the good guys. Under the guise of saving us, they came in and took everything we had. Obviously, they've got me over here, and my sons, I hope, are still alive. I have no idea, and haven't for a long time, where they are, how they are. So as long as you can suppress it by the press that's controlled by the Rockefeller, hey, look at everything that's up there. Rockefeller Plaza, your morning news, your evening news. Megyn Kelly that's on there now, she even has the Rockefeller Plaza right there. And your United Nations, which is your front for the global government, is right there too. So now I wanted to go back to what I started telling about and the doctors was mind control and murders that were being done in patterns, and you could prove them. Well, so these had to be deliberately done because mind control is invisible. So I was telling about that, and Larry Flint was shot. There's a whole list. And then I was flown out there, and he did an article I usually show, an endorsement, saying that I knew who was responsible for his shooting and that Larry McDonald, Dr. Congressman, was a part of it. Well, he was a part of trying to kill me April Fool Day to shut up the book, but also it's really about who I am and the horrors of what were done, and I'm the monarch. And they took down my father with nothing but lies because he had integrity. Evidently, the word never occurred to anybody else, you know. So I was telling about when I started looking, I was born, and after I was kidnapped, my father totally replaced and called the Duke and Duchess of Windsor by a double who did all these antics and crazy stuff and illegal. And it was attributed to my father. That's how your press was. And I want to get into this. A lot of these people are movies made like George VI, Elizabeth the Queen movie, and the one that won the Golden Globe, or at least the actor did, The Darkest Hour, making Winston Churchill out to be a great hero when he was nothing but a cold-blooded murderer. I want these people held responsible, and my father's name cleared. I want the traitors to pay for their crimes like they're supposed to. And he burned the Windsor files. And if you tell all of this, it gets such a mess and horror, and the fact that it's covered up, it ruins a whole lot of reputations. Roosevelt, President Roosevelt, a bunch of the Americans, some of my own people over there. And before I lose my train of thought, I want to get to this. And I've left it at the end. Part of this involved me researching and finding out that after I was kidnapped, and it explains a lot of how I was treated, and I didn't understand it. I was the most unprejudiced person on this planet, kind-hearted. And then I look back and I look how people have treated me. They really have, in part because of what I was telling. And then when I found out about my kidnapping, they don't really care here in this country. And it's my country, the average citizen that came over here, and the Germans and helped me. And I don't want to leave out some of the Americans because there were Americans. But basically, they don't want to hear it. They want to hear that they were friends and went over there and saved our you know what's, and instead of taking over everything we had and what they did to me and my father and mother and my children. Now, in the book, I was writing about mind control, and I shouldn't have left this till last. Mind control, I even put up a book somebody gave me, a page out of it, where Timothy McVeigh was in the U.S. military, and he had a chip put up his buttocks, and it says in this article that, and by the military, and he went on to, he was a puppet. He was in your military, America. How many of you have chips put in your root canals or heart bypasses? And this is what I was telling about. I've put that up. And Terry Nichols is supposed to be his partner in this crime of blowing up the federal building and all this, is still in prison. Timothy McVeigh was put to death. This is what I was telling about. And the New World Order, the global government, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds that kidnap me, that control your media. Now then, in this article about Timothy McVeigh, in essence, they said what I was saying, only I didn't connect it so much to the Bible till it got to be so much like end times, you know, and the chip put in people, and they couldn't buy or sell if they didn't have the chip. Well, recently, they've been doing this, chipping people back from the Tesla files. And some of it can really be proven. And anyway, it really can. Anyway, it's come to, you really start seeing it happen other than me trying to tell about it. And then mind control, you can Google now. Back when I was telling that you couldn't. I want to hurry and get this one up because I don't know. People didn't want me to tell any of it about my kidnapping, about the chipping. They tried to say it was. I paid a price. Nobody paid me. In fact, everything I ever had was stripped and over from me, and I was made to beg, a pauper, homeless, etc. Horrible things that I'm not putting up here and done to my children. Anyway, the book was talking about mind control, and then I found out about being kidnapped by the Rockefeller. They're the global government. Uh, there's a Rockefeller Foundation, the Rockefeller Center that controls your media, um, out of New York. That's the headquarters. So now that I've been telling about chipping and all this and putting it up and mind control, and suddenly, about a year ago, I don't think it's been that long, they tell about, well, this has been putting chips in people. When they do an autopsy, like the man that did the Las Vegas shootings, they did an autopsy of his brain to find if there was an abnormality. I can't even talk this morning. I can't talk. Okay. Abnormality. Thank goodness I got that out. It's hard this early in the morning and the way I feel. You can probably tell by my voice. Anyway, the whole thing is he was programmed. So where in all these things that have happened, the James Holmes, and this gets to be a list, Steve McQueen was murdered. And you should have heard the tape of them murdering him. Okay, there was a tape with it on it. Anyway, they've been chipping people for a long, long time, and the wrong people pay for the crime, like Virginia Tech here, the young student from South Korea that shot 32 a few years ago, and then he was programmed to shoot himself. So now then, I was writing about that. A church gave me a small book and told me it was by Tex Mars. It's Project Lucid. It's talking about the end times. It had Timothy McVeigh's picture in there, and about Revelations and all that. And after you start seeing it unfold about the Jews going back and taking over Israel, that's after they kidnapped me. In 41, took down my father, installed George VI, who's illegal. So the whole lineage is illegal. So what good was it all? I mean, it's untrue. But anyway, here's the point. Lately, it's gotten more obvious, and this is what I've been telling it to that people didn't want to hear, that it would almost connect to end times, and I haven't said much about that, but it's about the chipping and who I am and all that. The one world government, which is in place, believe me. But lately, they've been putting up about some company wanted to put a chip like a grain of salt in a finger so you can swipe the candy machine, and it comes out of your bank account. This is old stuff. They didn't have candy machines, but they've had chips in you for a long, long time. Long, long time. Back to the 30s, at least. King Ferdinand, I think the shooter that shot him, I know it was, had a chip in him, was mind control used on him. Now then, the last night on Channel 7 here, and believe me, these local all know about this. The national all know about it. They've known about my kidnapping, takedown of my father, all these years. I had just had a birthday. I'm 79 years old. So they've known about it all along and deleted it. The press has. They're putting little Charlotte's picture up when I don't know how old she is, about 2. This is when they kidnapped me and brought me over here, and I've been putting the pictures up. I don't have one when I was 2 years old, but I was 3, and I started putting them up recently, but they're putting up Charlotte's picture for some reason, and all the Elizabeth and that family have to do is send things to the press over here. Why are they doing that? Why is the press printing it and deleting me, the real monarch?